I never knew the old man's name. Everybody just called him the old man. Well, the old man worked down in Shacktown at the mill. He didn't have a car, so he had to walk to work. His wife would get up early every morning and fix his lunch and pack it in a lard pail. Sometimes she would sing, and oftentimes he would bring his mandolin and accompany her.
My casket, where I gently fall asleep to wake in Jesus, dearest sister, do not weep.
Walking down to the mill, he passed by old Joe Brown's store that had recently burned to the ground. He remembered warmly the many times he had visited on Saturday nights and listened to the Grand Ole Opry on the old Philco battery radio.
This is WSM, Nashville, Tennessee, presenting the Grand Ole Opry. Let her go, boys.
He could still hear that music. It was hard work down at the mill, but he didn't complain. He was happy to have a job when others didn't. He could hardly wait for the whistle to blow so he could grab his lunch pail and head for home. He was only too glad to get there and headed for his favorite chair. He called for his young son David to bring his mandolin. It was kept in a special place and no one was allowed to touch it. His son was only too proud to take it to him, hoping that someday he would be allowed to play it or even hold it. The old man played the mandolin quite well. Sometimes he would invite some buddies over to pick. The young son was not allowed to come in and listen. He couldn't stay up late, so he had to go to bed. He was put to sleep many a night listening to that wonderful music and song about someone called John Henry. Dreaming that someday he would play all those tunes and many more. The years rolled by. Times change. His son David had already left home to seek his fortune or fight in the Great War. Hard times came to the old man. He lost his job down at the mill and had to let the mandolin go. David learned to play and over the years became very famous and highly respected. He often thought about his father's old mandolin. Years later, he returned for a visit, not realizing how much time had passed. The old home place was still there. It was cold and empty. Again, this made him wonder about his father's old mandolin. He decided to go downtown and see if any of his old friends were left. He was surprised how old they looked. He was walking down the street and noticed a nice-looking shop full of old stuff. He noticed a sign on the window, "We buy old guitars." David went inside and inquired of the owner if he had any old instruments. The owner went to the back and returned with one and placed it on the counter. David opened it and almost had a stroke. Before him was the very same mandolin he used to carry to his father. He was overjoyed and could not believe his eyes. He made arrangements to purchase it and left the store with his prized possession. He could hardly wait to get home. He was so elated that he composed a new tune and called it the Prodigal Five. David soon discovered that this was no ordinary mandolin. It was something special. One time he remembered his father talking about a place called a cook shack where they played music on Saturday. He decided to go there and see if anyone could give him any information about the mandolin. He arrived and was made welcome. He joined right in. Several people played the mandolin, but no one could tell him about it. Then someone asked if he had showed it to Tut Taylor. He knew a lot about instruments. David inquired of Tut's whereabouts and left. He located Tut through some friends and made arrangements to visit him. It was only one a day when he knocked on Tut's door, and he was warmly invited in. The house was filled with wonderful cooking aromas. It seems that Tut's wife Lee was always preparing some delicious, long-ago recipe. David opened the case and gave the mandolin to Tut. He took one look and drew it to his chest and played a wonderful, bittersweet melody. A friend had returned. Hey, Ralph, come over here and pick one with me, buddy. How about a little golden slippers?
That will be fine.
David knew then that Tut had a story for him. While he cuddled the mandolin ever so secure, he told David his story. Many years ago down in Atlanta, there was a school of music located in a nice old 3-story home. There was a music professor, his wife, and 2 sisters. They taught all string instruments. Oftentimes, the professor's wife was called on to teach a student mandolin. She would borrow his Gibson F5. The points of the Florentine style would cause agony from the points sticking in her legs. She loved the sound of the mandolin, so she asked him if he would order her one without the points, which he did. The School of Music were representatives of the Gibson Mandolin and Guitar Company in Kalamazoo, Michigan. Lord Lower was the chief acoustic engineer at the plant at this time. He was the one to receive the special order. He accepted the challenge. He applied all his skills and expertise and came up with a new Gibson A5 mandolin. He never before built a mandolin to these specifications. To my knowledge, this is the only A5 mandolin he ever made. Time passed on and there was only one sister left. Later, she decided to sell some of the many instruments left at the school. A friend of mine told me about this, and I managed to acquire some of them, including the professor's Gibson Lord Lower F5 and the special A model. I played these for a while. I sold the F5 and later loaned this mandolin to a friend of mine, who disappeared with it, and I never saw it again. David was glad to finally know the story of the mandolin. He said his goodbyes to Tut and left. He never knew how his father acquired the mandolin,